This week, I turned this shed from this to this. And in doing so, I showed the process for how I built a simple work table and hung drywall. As with all projects, it started with a trip to Home Depot. It's John. Other humans exist. Want to go get dinner? You want to drive the truck? Let's go. And that was yesterday. My first task for today is to build a simple outdoor work table. I've been doing a lot of cutting on the ground, and that needs to change. Work table complete. As you can see, there was an emphasis on simplicity. All it was 2 sawhorses and a piece of plywood. And I didn't even measure anything. I just kind of eyeballed it. Now, it would be possible to reinforce this table so that it doesn't bend a little bit in the middle. If you wanted to do that, you would just take 2 2x4s and screw them along the length of the work table. I would probably screw them at about 1/4 and 3/4 of the way across the width. And if you wanted to go the extra mile, you could even notch into the 2x4s where you want them to sit on the sawhorses. Okay, with this work table done, it's going to be a lot easier to cut the drywall for this next stage. It's drywall day. If you remember last episode, I started installing the wooden interior finish on the bedroom side of the shed room. I finished that over the weekend, and now it's time to do the drywall side, which is the living room area. I learned how to drywall from my dad, and he's quite the handyman. Now in the next couple minutes, I'll do my best to transfer that knowledge to you. I don't know anything. I don't know anything? I don't know everything, but I know enough to get the job done pretty well too. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, here's the first thing. On every edge of the drywall, you need a stud to screw into. In this corner, there's a stud if I want to put drywall on this wall, but for this wall, there's no stud. So we got to remove the foam and then put a stud here so that we can screw in drywall later. Same goes for up here, up there, right there. You got that? It is like working in a sauna in here, just not the one that I actually like. So it turns out with this one piece, I cover most of what I know about actually hanging the drywall. For starters, make sure you countersink all the screws just a little bit because you want to make sure that when you mud, it doesn't show through, but also you don't want to over tighten them because if you go too far, then they're basically ineffective. I also left about a 3/8 inch to a 1/2 inch gap between the drywall and the floor. This is because the floor is going to move. It might settle a bit too, and we want to make sure that's not touching the drywall when it does that, because if it is, the drywall could crack. Obviously, you want to end every single piece of drywall in the middle of a stud so that the next one can come and, you know, screw into the same place. Screws along the exterior are about 6 to 8 inches apart, probably 8 inches. Screws on the interior studs are more like a foot apart. And lastly, when you're going around windows or doors, You want to use a single piece of drywall to bridge that corner, because if you were to stop it right at the edge of the window and then start a new piece right here, this part of the wall is going to deflect from loads differently than this wall. And if this joint is just mudded, it might crack. So it's a lot stronger to use a piece of drywall to bridge this corner because it's a lot less likely to crack. Ooh, and I'm gonna do as much as I can for the rest of the day. Not gonna film it, I'll see you tomorrow. That was awkward. Good afternoon? Not bad, huh? So every piece is installed except this one. Just temporary screws because we gotta get at the panel later for the HVAC hookup. Now it's definitely best to do the drywalling stage in as few pieces as possible because less taping, less mudding, but you're bound to make mistakes. I made one white here, I made one. Okay, next up, taping. With the seams taped, we can start to mud now. The process of mudding happens in many layers. The first one is very rough, you're just trying to fill the gaps. Once that first layer has dried, you can do a light sanding and then add more and more layers to get a smoother finish. With each layer that you're adding, you're taking the joint and you're expanding how much you're mudding from it. Each layer gets progressively thinner as you move towards a finished coat. And again, sanding in between. I like to do mudding with a 12-inch and a 4-inch blade. The 12-inch I kind of use it as my easel. I scrape it and smack it on. Well, this one I use for all the smearing. For both of these, when you're trying to get rid of a line and have a smooth finish, you want to put pressure on a corner so that it bends and tapers off. And that's just about everything I know about drywall. Definitely more of an informative episode, but I hope you come back next week because we're going to be digging a trench to connect the shed room's electricity to the rest of the grid. The only thing is, the soil here is essentially completely rock. So we'll see how I get that done. I'm going to finish this first coat now, and I'll see you next Monday. If you want to see last week's episode where I installed the wooden interior finish and carry a heavy rock, click here. If you want to see next week's episode where I cut through rock to dig a trench, click here. Bye.